statement real quick. Just appreciate you guys being here today. Working around Broadway and Bozeman. It's always an interesting time here. So Coach Kleiman probably doesn't have to do that at their facility. But that's the goal, right? That's the number one goal. Keep winning. Maybe they'll build us something around here. So there's my non-sponsored but much-needed commercial that will begin every statement I make from here on out. What a great team win on Saturday. Coach Morris and his team were, riding the high of a co-conference championship in the Southland. Had an extra week to prepare for us. I know they were down a quarterback, but I think you could probably say we were too. Except for our guys, a winner, and that's the best thing I can say about Troy is, I just thought he operated at a really high level, threw the ball as well as he's thrown the ball into some tight windows and coverage, which not necessarily has been his forte. I thought he played with a lot of confidence. I thought Travis Johnson stepped up and did some big time things. I mean, he makes the kickoff or tackle on the opening kickoff, dislocates his finger. Comes back, makes some really exceptional plays in the pass game for us, operates at quarterback, all those things. Isaiah Fonse, his numbers are starting to speak for themselves, and those were not easy yards on Saturday. And I think that our offensive line was really, really exceptional in that game. So I was proud of those guys. I thought Braden Conkle played his best football game. We had guys like Ty Okada stepping up, Damian Washington with some of the injuries that we had in the back end. Defensive line, I thought those guys did a really nice job of bottling up the run game. And so, as I said, a really good team win. And obviously now we turn our attention to arguably the standard bearer for all of college football, not just the FCS. When you look at the success that they've had, nobody can really match what they've done over the last decade. And you include Alabama in that. And so I think Coach Kleiman is – he's the perfect guy for that job. It's not just that he's been a winner there at North Dakota State, but he was a winner as a player at UNI, as a coach at UNI, and is a guy that is doing a great job continuing the legacy and putting his own stamp on things there. Offensively, man, they have a wide variety of personnel groups. I mean, I think we have in a 5-game breakdown, we have 14 different personnel groups. And so they play a lot of bodies up front, multiple tight end, fullback sets. They're a run-first team. I think they run the ball about 68% of the time. But that sets up some pretty explosive things in the pass game for them. And they got a 4-year starter in Easton Stick, who's the Missouri Valley Offensive Player of the Year, and very deservingly so. I think he's an amazing player. I love their tailbacks, the Dunn kid, the Anderson kid, thick, fast, physical runners that fit their style very well. They've definitely recruited to that. Shepard, kind of their big playmaking receiver on the outside, number 20. You can see he competes for the ball, has excellent speed, is a good route runner. They've got a variety of different ways that they use their tight ends and fullbacks in the pass game, but also to get their run game going. And their offensive line is big. I mean, 6'5", 305, I think, or thereabouts is their average. So 4 guys with over 400 yards rushing. Stick has over 2,000 yards rushing, or 2,000 yards passing, 400 yards rushing, does not make mistakes, operates the system. When it's not there, he'll use his feet to get more, or he'll throw the ball away. And so he values the football, extremely intelligent player. On the defensive side, they're base 4 down. I think they've got great personnel. I mean, I just do. I think that this Jabril Cox kid, he could play anywhere. He'd be starting in Notre Dame. I mean, this guy is a football playing Jesse. I mean, he is 6'2" and plus, 230, can run, will hit you. I think he's second on the team in interceptions with 4, 2 pick sixes. You better know where he's at. And 96, twitchy D end, excellent pass rusher. But they're there in the right spot. If you show them the same thing over and over and over again, everybody's reading the book the same way on that team. They're an exceptionally well-coached team. You can just see that they're pointing things out pre-snap, formationally. As you go through the film, they see it once and they know it, and that's how well prepared they are. They're not an overly aggressive team. They blitz about 30% of the time. If you get them in the red zone, you hit them with tempo, you hit them with shot play, they're going to come with some pressure. Definitely third down and extra long you want to stay out of. Because whether they're bringing 4, 5, or 6 doesn't really matter. They seem to find a way to get home. Roll a lot of guys on the D-line, as I said. The guy that stands out probably the most on the front, the Menard kid, number 96. I already talked about Cox. And then a guy that I think is probably, I don't know if he's their leading tackler or not, but he's around the ball a lot, is the Grimsley kid, number 5, the safety. He is, they'll plug him down at different spots so he's unaccounted for in the run game. He's an excellent tackler. You can tell he knows exactly where he's supposed to be and how to get there. And so I think it's impressive. I think they have good team speed, which shows up in the kicking game. Shepard is a dangerous punt returner. When he gets the ball in his hands, he can go at any time. And then, just kind of a general comment about this group. I mean, I think when you combine exceptional personnel with tremendous commitment and great coaching, you win championships. And that's what North Dakota State has done over and over and over again. You don't see a lot of guys on this roster that are redshirt freshmen and freshmen. Most of the guys in their two deep are juniors and seniors. They've developed them physically. They've put the time in. They bought into the system. They understand the process, and they earn their right to play as juniors and seniors. And I'm sure they don't want to be the guys that don't win it. And I think that's a championship culture. And so I think there's a financial commitment by that university, and that community supports that program tremendously well. They have outstanding coaching staff led by Coach Kleiman, and they have great personnel. And so it'll be a fun trip. I mean, I'm excited to go see this place. I'm excited to measure ourselves against a team of the caliber of North Dakota State. We will be is Eastern Washington the 3 seed? So now we will have played the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 6 seed in this tournament, or 4 seed? What's South Dakota State, 6, 5? Okay. And then you throw in that we played the 4 seed last year. I think that we are playing a competitive schedule. We're playing the type of teams that we have to play to know what we have to do. And when we go to these places and see what they're doing, that's what I'm excited about. When you go and see the investment that they're making in Weber State, I mean, everybody saw they're building that end zone complex, and they've got an indoor now, and Eastern Washington has a recruiting advantage and a competitive advantage because of where they're located. They're the only FCS school in the state of Washington. And you go to North Dakota State and see those facilities, and you go to Kennesaw and see what they've built, and you go to South Dakota State and see what they've built. And I think that's the next step for us. I mean, I think we've obviously got to continue to recruit at a high level, and we've got to put our kids in the best chance to win. And then, we've got to, if we want to be considered as one of those types of teams, we've got to, step up to the plate and make some financial commitments too.
What did you think of just the way your team finished on Saturday? Just up 1 touchdown going into the fourth quarter, and Braden basically closes it out defensively, Travis closes it out offensively. What did you think of that performance?
Yeah, I think that's kind of who we've been, really. Montana game was a close game. Obviously, this was a close game going into the fourth quarter. We were tied 24-24 with Weber State going into the fourth quarter. We haven't won them all, but we've been in a lot of them. And I think our guys don't panic. There's no letdown, no back down, no slowdown. Let's just go finish this thing, and whether that means we got to make a goal line stand and with 9 seconds left, or we can open up a couple score lead and get in victory formation, whatever it takes to win.
North Dakota State obviously wins the majority of their games, but they're not immune to playing in close games. So what do you think the formula is to keep it close and be in it in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think kind of what Coulter's talking about, that's what they do every week. I mean, it's the rare game that they just kind of go in and blow somebody out. A lot of times it is a competitive game, and then you see them kind of take we call it dragging them into deep water, and you just keep leaning on them with those big offensive linemen, and you pound them, and then you hit a shot in the play action game, or you get a turnover that's the dagger, and that's just who they are. I mean, that's their recipe for success and has been for quite a while. And so, a lot of their games are 4-quarter games, and I think that's kind of the way Coach Kleiman likes it, and I think that's what they're programmed to over there, and a lot like what we talked about with us. I mean, I don't think there's ever any panic on that sideline. Those guys always believe that they're going to win the game, and somebody's going to go make a play for them. And so, we've got to handle the environment. We've got to handle the stage. This is clearly a veteran team that understands what it's all about to be in this position, and so I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on for us early in the game, and not make more out of it than it is. I mean, we've got to go prepare the same. Our routine needs to be consistent. Our preparation needs to be exceptional. Our practices need to be on point, and our travel needs to be seamless. All those things need to be in place for us to go have an opportunity to play our best football.
With the linebackers having so many injuries, how valuable is Michael Jobman and being consistent as the year?
And durable. That's a huge deal because my linebacker is such a volatile position, and he's improved each and every week that he's played. He's come a long way this season, moving from the edge to the box, and you can just see his growth as a player. How he prepares has changed a lot in a positive way. I think he realized after the first couple weeks that this isn't going to be so easy. I'm going to have to really do a good job of putting myself in the best position to be successful pre-snap if I'm going to have post-snap success. And so he's really taken ownership over his preparation, and he's been able to stay healthy, which is a huge deal for us. And we really have basically played with 2 linebackers down the stretch here because when we're playing passing teams, we're in nickel or Bronco stuff, and both Grant and Michael have been really durable and really important for us.
When you watch your own team on film, you guys have evolved into being so physical. I know that's what your goal was. What do you think of the progress you've made in that element of the game?
Yeah, I don't think it's any one thing in particular. I think it's everything in general. I think it's the mindset that we bring to work every day. I think that toughness is built by, in the weight room. I think we've made a commitment to a financial commitment to developing these young men at a higher level, whether that's the nutritional aspect of it, engaging with other people to make sure that we've got the best plan to develop these guys physically in the off season. It's putting them in positions where they're going to be challenged. It's increasing the talent level in our program so that every position is competitive, and you have to bring your best, or you're going to either get embarrassed or get beat out. I think all of those things go into that, and it's not an overnight deal. It takes time to get the pieces in place correctly and to really identify what has to be done to be your best. And so, we're committed to having that style regardless of who we play, how we play, where we play. I believe the most physical team usually wins. And that's a huge part of success in this game.
I know you kind of talked about it Saturday. What do you think of Travis and Troy's relationship, going from competing for the starting quarterback spot and now being that kind of quarterback-receiver chemistry?
Yeah, I think it's one of mutual respect. Both these young men are really good people. I mean, there's no animosity, there's no jealousy. I think they're team guys that really want the best for this team. I think they care about their teammates. I think they have a really good relationship. They both happen to be exceptional athletes. And right now the skill set is different, but the objective's the same. And it doesn't matter if it's Troy blocking for Travis on a broken play on the edge of the defense, or Travis blocking on the perimeter for Troy on a long touchdown run. I think they take as much pride in that as they do scoring this touchdown themselves, and I think that speaks to the team concept. And when you have your best players playing for the team, it's easy for everybody else to buy in. And I think that's what we have right now is we've got, and I'm not just talking about Travis and Troy, I'm talking about Tucker Yates and Zach Wright, and I mean, you go down the list, these guys want to win. Johnny DiAgostino, if he needs to go chart plays, he'll be up there charting plays, and you'll ask him how many snaps we have in this formation, and he'll give it to you in 2 seconds. And I think everybody's bought into the idea that we need to work together to win.
Isaiah Fonse's had probably one of the best seasons for a freshman running back in his program's history. How would you just sum up what he's done this year?
There's no quitting that kid. I mean, there just isn't. You just, like, at the end of the game, I'm like, don't fight for extra yards, man. Just run the clock out, because the one thing you don't want to have happen is to see the ball pop out there, and that's just not how he's programmed. I mean, he's just going to run that way no matter what. He keeps his legs driving. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman, you have to love to block for the guy because he's going to make you look good. Even if you miss a block, he's going to make you right. And you see those guys lifting that guy up off the pile at the end of runs, and he's, I've said this multiple times, he's not 100% healthy. I mean, he's a guy that we have to kind of, take care of during the course of the week and get him to Saturday and just the way that he's prepared. I mean, he knows who to block in protection. We can use him out of the backfield. With limited reps, what he's able to do has been very, very impressive for anybody, let alone a true freshman. And so, you alluded to it. I mean, I think he is the all-time freshman rushing record holder at Montana State University. I mean, he holds now the playoff rushing record, and I think those are just if we can keep him healthy and keep him on track, those are just going to be the first ones to fall.
With the play with the wide receiver motion that you guys do so often, I guess what do you think it adds to the offense?
Well, what you're trying to do is obviously just try to create a little window dressing for the defense. If you pull one guy's eyes outside, that creates a little bit of room inside, and if they want to stay inside, obviously, and hunker down on the inside run, then you should be +1 on the perimeter. And so it's just a way for us to get to some perimeter run game, get some other guys involved in the offense, and also create maybe a little bit of post-snap confusion for the defense.
Your defensive line has been such a strength all year. So what do you think of the matchup against their offensive line, which is so big?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's we've played against big physical groups before. Weber's kind of like a lot like this. And so, it's about us doing a great job of technique. I mean, it's not there's no magic pill here. I mean, you better have your eyes where they need to be. You better have great hand placement. You better not drag your trail leg, spike the foot, create knockoff, work for separation, have your hat in the gap. I mean, that's what it's about. And that's hard to do over and over and over and over again. And that's where that personal discipline comes into play. And to a certain degree, I think that's even what a team like North Dakota State is counting on, is that you're not going to be able to do that for 4 quarters. You might be able to do it for a little while, but over time, you're going to take a chance. You're going to decide you don't want to go quite that hard on this play. And then that crease emerges, and they've got the talent to make you pay.
Listening to an interview with Carson Wentz last year, he was saying that they had 17 different ways to run power, same play, different formations. How do you express that to the guys that it's not necessarily complicated what they're doing after, but beforehand it is so?
Yeah, there's a lot of shifts, motions, as I mentioned, to multiple personnel groups, how they're getting to their DNA plays. It's interesting. It looks like a lot, and yet you've just got to be really honed in.
What have you thought of Tyrone's kind of career development, and how important has he been, staying healthy?
Yeah. Really my first year and a half, his first year here, he ends up with a foot injury, doesn't end up playing. Really takes him almost till halfway through last year to get fully healthy and to be able to start to play at a high level. And then he really dedicated himself in the off season, through spring ball, through the summer months, and came in tremendous shape. Has been a kind of an emotional leader for us, and played at an extremely high level. I'm just really proud of him. He's a very, again, it's kind of funny how your best players, they're humble, they're hungry, they're good team guys. They take pride in being a part of this program. He's just another one of those guys that's like that.
Getting extra practice time, how essential do you think that is for your team moving forward? It's different than
It is, because in the bowl game, everybody's like, oh, I've been a part of all these postseason deals, but really you're like, heck, I'd be out on the road recruiting. You come back on Thursday night, you practice Friday, Saturday, you go back on the road Sunday, and then the 10 days before the bowl game, you kind of get into game mode again. So it's very different in that regard. You don't really have time to get back into kind of the fundamentals. A lot of those practices on the weekends for FBS schools during bowl prep are more like a fall camp practice, where you let the young guys scrimmage a little bit, and you work on your fundamental stuff and kind of get back to square one. And here, you're game planning immediately, and you got to go. You basically have 3 days of practice to prepare for the next opponent. So it's very different in that regard. And there's not that extra time to heal. So it's not like we can go out on Tuesday morning's practice and beat the heck out of these guys. We've got to continue to be smart with their bodies and make sure that we get the reps that we need to develop, make sure our timing's good and our communication's good. And then, a lot of it has to be fit. Just kind of walk through almost a little bit more than walk through tempo, so that they can get in the right place and not beat their bodies up.
The addition of Bryce seems to kind of unlock the rest of your defense, just the amount of pressure he's put on, just how vital has his presence been throughout this season?
Yeah, clearly that was something that we talked a lot about in the offseason, was that we needed to be better at affecting the quarterback. That would help us on third downs. That would help us take the ball away. And, Bryce has been kind of, one of the missing keys to that, really. He's, we had those 3 veteran guys, and Tucker and Zach and Tyrone, that were all great players in their own right and brought a lot to our program. And now to have that one guy that's got a little bit of juice, now it opens things up for them. We can use them to open things up for him. And so he's really been a critical element in our success this year, in terms of, now being a top 10 team in turnover margin, which is a huge predictor for success. And so, it's a good learning lesson for us that, we can't neglect that. We've got to continue to find that next guy that can come in and help us to take the next step as a pass rushing unit. Because if we can play match coverage and not have to bring 5 or 6 guys to affect the quarterback, that changes the whole game, because now you don't have to expose yourself in the back end.
Reuniting with Coach Messingham, I guess, what have you seen out of their offense that he kind of impacts?
Yeah, you can definitely see some Mess's flavors. Mostly the gun run stuff. The under center stuff is pretty much what they do and what they've done for a while. But you can see some of definitely the play action game and some of the gun run stuff is things that he implemented here and installed here for us. And Courtney's a really good football coach, and he's an even better guy. I mean, he's a great person. And he and Carol were awesome Bobcats while they were here. And certainly I didn't want to lose him, but I totally understood. I mean, a guy that he'd known pretty much his whole life, and Chris Kleiman, they played together at UNI, and opportunity to go and be a part of a program like that. And he kind of had the last laugh on that. I think a lot of people around here didn't think he knew what he was doing, and evidently he knows what he's doing. So that's a good thing. And so that's I'm happy for him and for Carol and their family, and it'll be good to see the old mustache before the game.
I think Cal Poly was the only Big 12 school that's played North Dakota State so far. Will you talk to Tim Walsh at all while you're preparing for this game?
Yeah, they're so different on offense, and that's really Tim's kind of background a little bit. I know Ty's talked to their defensive coordinator, and we'll kind of exchange some notes on that a little bit. Any intelligence is good intelligence, and so you're trying to gather as much as you can. But I don't know that. It's almost like the incarnate word deal too, where we were talking about it last week, where it's at this stage they are who they are. You kind of know what you're going to get. What you see on film is who they are, and probably for the most part we are too. And so I don't know that it's going to be that much dramatic or that much different, but it's going to be, it's going to be a hard-fought game, and it's going to be physical, and it's going to be an interesting environment, and see how our kids react.
Easton Stick is 45-3. Can you just talk a little bit more about his leadership and just being a winner and what he does out there?
Yeah, like I said, he's a great decision maker. He's an excellent athlete. The guy could probably run like Troy if that's what they wanted to do within their system. And you can see that element come out in his game periodically. Throws an excellent deep ball, and a lot of their explosive plays are going to be on shots off their play action. He's got a big time arm. This guy can throw that 15-yard comeback from hash to sideline, and without a problem. He's accurate. I think it's just like you said, he's a winner. I didn't know that was his record. It doesn't surprise me that that's his record. But we had a kid at Boise State named Kellen Moore that was 50-3, and who was the all-time winningest Division I quarterback in NCAA history, and that's what Kellen was too. He made great decisions with the ball. Probably wasn't as good an athlete. Probably didn't have as strong an arm as Easton. But those intangible qualities, I think that you see in Easton Stick are a lot like what Kellen had too, in terms of their leadership and their competitiveness and their preparation and all those things that go into success.
Mitch Brown seems to kind of be a steady presence for you at that left tackle spot. Just kind of how important is he, just generally speaking?
Yeah, he's a good player. I think he's a very underrated player. The guy that was a freshman All-American at right tackle 2 years ago and has slid over to left tackle after Dylan Mahoney graduating and really hasn't missed a beat. He's a very good pass protector. He doesn't give up a lot on the edge. He's physical in the run game, brings a great mindset. He's a hard-nosed, tough kid. Likes playing the game of football, takes pride in being a Bobcat, and I think he's just a tough guy that has got some pretty good tools.
What do you see as Ty Cloud's role, and how valuable was that, having that game this past week?
Yeah, he came up to me after the game and said, "Thanks for the chance, Coach. I'll be way better this week after getting a chance to see it on film." And he'll have to play some nickel for us again this week. And he's been a great special teams player all year. He had to step up in that situation, and he did. And he's a smart kid. I think we all trust that he's going to prepare the right way and know exactly where he needs to be, and then you just got to go play. And he's a much better football player than a lot of people think. He's faster than you think. He's got an edge to him, and he's been a really good addition for us.
The Groomsley kid, I think he's made 52 straight starts. You mentioned Kellen Moore, but on the defensive side, how unheard of is that?
Yeah, it's a pretty experienced group. That kid, you just see. He sees a formation, and you can just see the computer in his brain just going. He's got it dialed, and he's running traffic back there. He can disguise well. He puts himself in a position to make plays. He's never out of position. Excellent open field tackler. Everything you want in a safety.
Because North Dakota's had so much success, that's going to be a huge talking point this week. How do you not let that overwhelm the preparation?
Well, it's really not for us. It can't be about North Dakota State. It's got to be about us, and it's about an opportunity to go play one more football game. It's playoff football. It's win or go home, And ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to extend our season. And how do we do that? Well, we prepare the right way. We have great practices. We focus on us, control the controllables, block out the outside noise, and go play.
You mentioned this a little bit. Is NDSU, with how much success they've had, kind of a program you can model yourself after in some ways? Maybe take some things here and there?
Yeah, I stylistically, I really love the way they play. And so certainly that's something that, I've thought about for a long time, really since I took this job, is who do you look at? You look at the standard bearer at your level of football, and you say, well, how do they do it? And I don't know that you can really replicate that, but there are elements of what they do that I certainly would like to see in our program, and that physicality, that toughness, running the ball, playing great defense, those are elements that you want to have. Player development, I think that's a big one.
I think Fargo's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but as far as football recruiting, it's they're in a good spot, aren't they? I mean, they've got guys from Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin,
Yeah,
North Dakota,
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can see the heart and soul of their team comes from the Midwest, and they get their handful of North Dakota kids, and they kind of, they take pride in being Bison, and they just continue to develop within the program, and they have a really good footprint. I mean, I think one of the things that we always talked about, like specifically like in the SEC, if they can drive to your campus, that's a really big deal, because now you don't have to worry about the logistics of getting a kid up here for an unofficial visit, and they got to buy a plane ticket and all that. And that's one of the things that we struggle with here a little bit at Montana State. It's a hard drive from a lot of the places where we're trying to draw guys out of state. And they kind of have that a little bit, being, with the Twin Cities right there, and, kind of that Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan. I mean, they've got guys that are probably within a 4.5, 5 hour drive, and they can get there on that campus. And so it helps for camps, and that gets you more eyes on guys during recruiting. And I think those are things that do help. Good.
Jeff, do you have anything from Fargo?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Bill. Big picture, Jeff. What did you have to do to immediately address when you took over? What were some immediate needs for you?
Well, we needed to find a quarterback, and it's taken us a while to do that. Dakota Prukup was a graduate transfer. He left to go to Oregon right after I took the job, and so that's kind of been one of the issues. Defensively, we had a little bit of a talent a drought on the defensive side, so we needed to improve our secondary and our depth on the defensive side of the ball, and really on all three levels, defensive line and in the secondary in particular. I think that. Just anytime there's a change, it's difficult on young men, and so them getting to know me and what my expectations were and what the standards that I had that they needed to live up to, and developing trust. I mean, those are all things that are difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see a program like North Dakota State, such a seamless transition to Coach Kleiman and the success that they've had there. And I would imagine that there hasn't been a whole lot of changes in terms of what the expectations and the culture of that program are. And we had a kind of a sea change in that here, going from one coaching staff to another, and there wasn't a lot of continuity there. I mean, my style and what I wanted to do were going to be different than the previous regime, and so that took some time to be able to develop that trust amongst the players and the coaching staff, and work towards the vision that we have.
You're talking about facilities. Where do you think you are in the scope of the FCS right now, since you had a chance to see a lot of these places?
I think the upper, as I said, Missouri Valley is ahead of a lot of people, I think, in the CAA as well. And so, you go to some of those places and they look better than a lot of MAC schools have in terms of what they have facility-wise. And we're in a cold weather climate. We don't have an indoor. That hurts us a little bit. I think our stadium is a great stadium and a great atmosphere to play in. But we need some upgrades in terms of our football offices and our meeting space and our training facility. Those are things that we've got to take the next step in.
Are you making progress there?
I'm pushing hard, as you can tell.
And finally, when you come to Fargo, I take it you haven't been here before. What do you observe besides the game?
I don't really do much whenever I go anywhere. I travel for pleasure. I guess I'll do that when I retire. I'm pretty much a slave to my routine. I don't really even hardly ever leave the hotel. I might go for a walk to see if go get a cup of coffee in the morning on Saturday, but that's about it.